Welcome to Heart of Her, where we get real about the heart, hustle, and the healing behind modern womanhood. I'm your host, Shaun Watts, and today we're stepping into a conversation that's both deeply personal and universally human: the power of letting go. Joining us today is Dr. Rosenna Bakari. Dr. Bakari is ready to encourage you to leave behind what no longer serves you, heal your heart through departure. Growth doesn't always come from gaining something new. Sometimes it begins with walking away from relationships that no longer align to roles, routines, and beliefs that once defined us, but now confine us. Departure isn't always about loss. Often it's a sacred act of self respect, a turning point, a release that opens the door to healing, clarity, and freedom. But leaving is rarely easy. Our hearts cling to what's familiar, even when it hurts. So, how do we honor what once was while we're still choosing ourselves? How do we navigate the grief, the doubt, and the fear of the unknown and come out stronger on the other side? Together, we'll unpack the emotional layers of departure, the courage it takes to let go, and the beauty that comes when we stop carrying what was never ours to hold. Wherever you are in your journey, whether you're standing at the edge of a goodbye, deep in the process of healing, or already finding peace on the other side, this conversation will move you forward. Let's dive in. Dr. Bakari, we are so happy to have you here. How are you?
Thank you. I am doing well, and I'm so excited for this long awaited interaction and engagement. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, I'd love to get started by just giving our audience some background on you. Who are you, and why are you so passionate about what we're going to discuss today?
I've been on this healing journey myself for a very long time, and I've experienced it from so many angles, from student to a teacher, from a client to a therapist, from an entrepreneur to a thought leader. So I've been at this work along for decades and decades. So this work of helping people find their way through the scary parts of healing is just a really important part of my life.
I love that. And what way to help other people is by sharing your testimony, sharing your journey and your expertise, because we all learn from each other. And then just knowing that you have the support and you're not alone in a situation and journeys like this often helps you move yourself forward at a much easier pace. So I love that you're ready to share what has happened.
Thank
How do you
you.
find the moment when something or someone no longer serves you?
Said that varies for everyone, but for sure, when your growth begins to conflict with your surroundings, it's probably time to let go. So often we want to hold on to the familiar, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that tendency as we get into this conversation. But growth is the objective, is the goal. Are you growing or are you stuck? Are you in conflict because you're trying to change your environment instead of allowing yourself to change? So that's what I encourage people to look at. Where's your growth versus your effort to try and change your environment? Instead, let's look at what does it mean for me to change myself?
And with those things being said, most times we already know, we've recognized the patterns, we recognize the toxicity, we recognize the red flags and everything else, but we just continue to stay in the same cycle. Why is it so difficult, even painful, to let go of the things that we know aren't good for us anymore?
The brain is extremely attached to familiarity. So even though it sounds like common sense that you're hurting yourself or this isn't working, if you have in your mind how things go and you've had a lot of practice at it, then your mind just sees it as familiar. For example, a lot of our behaviors, probably most of our behaviors, really start in childhood. Our ideas about ourselves, about the world, and how we show up. And we carry those into adulthood. So I say that to say, if since childhood you've been used to trying to force people or things around you to make sense to you, to come into your understanding or your own power, then you continue to do that. If you were trying to find a way to get attention, if you were trying to find a way to fit in, if you had to find your own power as a kid because it was withheld from you or you were told that you didn't belong or whatever, then you keep that pattern going of chasing your tail, chasing attention, trying to be chosen. So oftentimes, even though we think we're trying to do the right thing to get a better life, that is not what our brain is trying to do. Our brain is trying to stay in a pattern of familiarity in this weird, obscure way. And so that's why the healing is so important. So our brain can change and flip the script. Instead of looking for the familiar, it starts to actually look for the growth.
It's sort of like when you're reframing your thoughts, it's like you've got to undo all those years of operating a specific way. Is there a psychological or emotional difference between a healthy departure and avoidance or escape?
Yeah, it is. So avoidance is fear driven, and that's important to understand. These patterns that we develop for survival are all fear driven. Fear of not being chosen. Again, fear of making a mistake, fear of failure. And so when we are in an avoidance pattern, we're trying to avoid trouble of some sort, emotional trouble, physical trouble, financial trouble. We're in the state of avoidance. But when we are departing from with a sense of power and knowing, then what we're doing is walking toward alignment. We're walking toward something, not just walking away from something to avoid.
I know that a lot of times you just say, I don't want the confrontation. I don't want to deal. It's much easier to just avoid rather than addressing things head on. And so people just get stuck in that same loop. But if you don't allow yourself to actually move through it, to feel it, to confront it, then you're going to have the same results every single time. So when we look at that, I feel like our attachment style plays into the struggle that we have to leave behind those relationships or those patterns. Can you expound a little bit more on that?
Sure. The empowered departure acknowledges attachments and it honors the bonds that we have in whatever form that we have them. But again, when we are experiencing any type of insecure attachment, those again are based in fear. And so my behavior is trying to manipulate you. My attachment behaviors is trying to achieve something by manipulating the environment versus my empowered attachment, which is focused on what my growth is, what aligns with who I am becoming. And attachment is based on what my past experiences have been that have led me to fear.
Obviously, there are some subconscious beliefs or fears that keep people stuck in working with past clients and people that you're speaking with today. And even from your colleagues, have you noticed certain patterns that just keep coming up over and over again?
Absolutely. The big one is that the world is unsafe. And if you spend a lot of time on social media, listening to the news, just hearing people talk, engaging in a lot of gossip, it will confirm for you that the world is unsafe. And when you live with that understanding of the world, you will keep accumulating evidence of that. That's the weird thing. People don't understand how our thoughts, behaviors, and intentions are driving the experiences that we have. Not 100%, but in a large way. We are co-creators in how our world turns out. And so when we believe the world is unsafe and we start behaving in ways that safety is the priority, we miss out on so much. And that's what I see people geared toward. So they are protecting their heart. They're protecting their time. You see it all over social media all the time. People trying to define themselves and create these boundaries, right? Because somehow there's this belief that someone's out there trying to take advantage of me, that people don't like me, that people are envious of me. And we keep talking this world of unsafety up. And so that's what I see is one of the main things is that the world is unsafe. The other thing that's very closely related to that is that I am unworthy. And that again come from oftentimes childhood experiences that somehow this isn't for me. So people don't give their best because ultimately they don't even believe that they are worthy of what it is that they are pursuing. When they get in a relationship, for example, they keep doing things trying to make themselves worthy of that relationship. Oftentimes, the things that they're doing to make themselves so-called worthy is exactly what will chase the person away, what will create conflict, what will disempower themselves or the other person in that relationship. So those are two of the things, is that the world is unsafe and that they are unworthy.
Oh my goodness. I can identify with both of those aspects just in being around people and having conversations. And I just kind of want to go back just a little bit to the one where you said the world is unsafe and how if you are constantly consuming media that perpetuates that same idea, that's all you're going to get, especially when you look at the algorithms, right? Like, okay, if this is all I'm paying attention to, I'm interacting with, then it's going to keep suggesting only those types of things. And if that's all that I'm seeing, then my mind is totally oblivious to anything else. I mean, it happens all the time. You see it in the posts, you see it in people that you actually know in real life, but you also see it in people that maybe I just follow this person because, I came across a book that they wrote or something like that. But you have to be strong enough and open enough to be able to receive different types of information and to live different sorts of experiences. You can't just stay closed off, in one shell. It's just like we evolve as we get older. You have to allow yourself to evolve in every different aspect of life, what is necessarily happening versus I'm just reading this over and over again on my phone. I'm scrolling when I open my email, I'm on someone's email blast. That's what I'm getting, the same information over and over again. As far as people not knowing what their worth is, I love that you said they are constantly trying to prove something instead of just owning that I am worthy, walking through the door. I am worthy. It's like you're trying too hard. And it does tend to make people want to just go ahead and this is not for me. And then that person is devastated because they feel like I gave my all and it still wasn't enough. So they continue to move on with that feeling of unworthiness. And we have to learn to get away from that.
Absolutely, because there's no amount of things that you can give that will make you worthy. You're worthy because you are here. And taking that worthiness into every room you go into is all that you need. There's nothing left to prove.
When you talk about departure as a form of healing, what does that mean in practical terms?
I love that question because when people just hear it, the power of departure, it often we hear it with our ego instead of the way that it's intended, which is with our spirit. So when I use that tagline, the power of departure, I'm not talking about leaving people because they don't serve you or creating boundaries so that people have to respect you. I am talking about being self-aware to understand what it is that's not serving you. And that almost always is an internal looking, an internal process. It means releasing ideals. Even if you have to release people, places, and things, the first thing that you often have to release is your attachment that connects you to those people, places, or things. So if I'm in this toxic relationship, you first have to even understand, how did I get here? And that's going to be a matter of reflecting on, what are the beliefs that keep attracting you to people who disrespect you? What are the ideals? What are your misaligned desires that keep bringing you things or people that only want to take advantage of you? And so before you, in fact, often you don't have to remove people from your life. When you become aligned with your spirit, because you've removed these attachment to these outdated ideas about yourself and the world and how you show up, people, the right people, will flow into and out of your life as designed. Rarely will you have to remove people from your life. It's all the internal stuff that you have to allow the departure from.
I think a lot of times people confuse time or taking a break with having done the work. Because you just take a break and you still show up with the same mentality and you're still behaving and analyzing things the same way, you're going to get the same results. So you can't expect, okay, I took a break for 2 years, I stepped back and I just worked on me. Did you really work on yourself though? Did you really? I'm saying this and I'm very direct, and sometimes people take that, as it may, but are you really doing the work? You really do have to stop and self-reflect. But then the second part of that is find resources, find resources and be open, be careful, but be open to hearing different strategies in different ways to get yourself unstuck. Because obviously what you were doing before was not working. And it's not going to work later just because it's a different person or because we're 2 years down the road. If you're still operating in that same spectrum, you're going to have the same results. So when we look at that, a lot of times people say it's not necessarily the guilt from walking away from someone or walking away from that situation. Internally, they feel guilty within themselves. I'm guilty because that still didn't work for me. I'm guilty because I still have these same feelings and I'm not changing. So how do we begin to separate the guilt from the growth when you walk away from something that feels like it's selfish or it's wrong?
Sometimes guilt does come on the healing journey. And again, depending on what our experiences have been and what our expectations are that are leading us to these experiences. But guilt is a feeling. Sometimes depression and isolation and loneliness come on the healing journey. Rule number 1 to healing is that feelings are not facts. Oftentimes, the feelings that we get, the feelings that come up, are attached to our familiarity with situations, are a part of our attachment to these ideals. We must come to understand and appreciate that feelings are not facts. Honor the feelings, acknowledge the feelings, and then explore the feelings. What are these feelings about? What is this guilt about? When you allow yourself to explore the feelings instead of taking them as facts, that's really often where the growth comes from. Oh, this feeling of growth is attached to this belief or this ideal about what it means to be a partner, to be a daughter, to be a servant, to be an employee. I can't get rid of the guilt because it is attached to an ideal that I'm still trying to serve. So whatever these negative feelings are, be it guilt, isolation, depression, loneliness, whatever, they're worthy to be explored, not treated as facts.
I love that you say make sure that you are exploring those feelings, but recognize that they aren't the facts. Because a lot of times people do not know how to depart in a healthy way. They don't know how to deal with their emotions in a healthy way. So, can you walk us through what a healthy emotional departure looks like, especially when it's not just the physical, but it's mental or emotional?
Yes, a healthy departure, I think, is subtle but powerful. There's power behind it. A healthy departure doesn't come from fear or anger, or you're trying to prove a point, or you're trying to get back at someone. A healthy departure is not manipulative. I'm taken aback every time I see these posts, right? Like, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I'm cutting people out. A healthy departure doesn't even need an announcement, right? Because it's focused on your alignment, not on you proving a point or trying to explain yourself to people. A healthy departure is turning the volume down on the inner critic and turning the volume up on your intuition. Sometimes you don't even recognize that you're headed toward a departure until you're out of it. And you're like, oh, I'm not even thinking like that anymore. I'm not even missing that person or that product anymore, because you're just in tune to yourself. When we depart focusing on someone or something outside of ourselves, there's a pretty good chance we're going to end up back there. Just like you were saying, it's the 2 years off without doing the work, right? But a healthy departure is the constant reflection on where am I and what needs are being served for me according to how I'm showing up in the world.
You just dropped Mike. I just wanted to say, you dropped the mic. You hit the nail on the head saying we don't have to announce it. It has to be subtle. It's not about proving a point. It's not about those people. It's about myself and me doing what I need to do to put myself in a better place. And once I'm in a better place, I'm only going to attract what I'm aligned to. So in our culture, we have this, I've got to get my lick back, or I'm going to show them I'm glowing up. And you could be. You could be evolving in certain ways, but when that evolution is centered around being able to show somebody else up or to prove them wrong, you're stalling your progress. You're stalling who you are. And it's like you set this ceiling here. And you're not moving in purpose. If you're so busy concerned about what other people are thinking or what they're going to say and how are they going to react to me today and me now, then it's not about you. And you're still giving those people the power that you've given them all along.
Yes.
So, oh my goodness, that is a good one. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening, go back, rewind. If you guys did not write that down, write it down, because it is nothing but the absolute truth. And sometimes we need to hear it. Every move that you make is not going to be perfection, quote unquote. You're not going to only be thinking, I'm zen, I'm in this centered space, I'm only thinking about me, I'm constantly reflecting. We are human. And again, if you created these patterns and this is the way that you've been for years and years and years, it takes time to unwind that. So being reminded to keep yourself first. And it's not selfish. It's not about having an ego. If you are the best version of yourself, you're going to sprinkle that magic out and it's going to help other people. But yes, oh my goodness, that was so good. So good. So how do people rebuild their sense of self after a major departure? Like if they've left a relationship or a job that they thought that they were going to have for a very long time, or even their identity. If they decided maybe before I wasn't being my true self, I wasn't being my authentic self, and I'm ready to step into that now. Of course, it comes with fear at times. So how do we begin to rebuild a sense of self?
It's important to allow the space of uncertainty. Oftentimes, when we're going through these rebuilding processes, we're still trying to hold on. In fact, the brain really gets out of whack trying to find that familiar. It's going to chase that familiar. Sometimes we end up regressing, right? Well, this worked 5 years ago. I'm going to go start doing this again. But if you allow yourself to be in the space of uncertainty, that's a space of discomfort. Your mind is going to rebel. It's not going to like it. It's going to feel like those feelings of unworthiness might be triggered, or who am I might be triggered. Those are feelings, not facts. And if you can allow yourself to sit in that space of uncertainty, then what you need, it will show, it will evolve. One of my favorite lessons that I learned from Iyanla Vanzant was the idea of working instead of allowing. And so we have this idea that we have to work for what we want instead of allow what we want. And there's a big difference when we are in that space and we start thinking or feeling like, but what am I? I have to earn it. I have to earn it. You don't have to earn it. You just have to allow it. And so when you are in that space of uncertainty, you are having the faith that what needs to show up will show up instead of trying to figure out how to earn it. You don't have to earn it. So you have to embrace the unknown. That's so important, knowing that you can do nothing and there's plenty of blessings that will come in a state of you doing nothing. Why? Because we are not here to earn. We are here to receive. And that's an important distinction. Meanwhile, you also have to allow the grief to come from whatever loss your mind perceives, right? If we're ready to receive, then we are going to diminish the sense of loss and grief. But if we're still trying to go after or feel like we're losing something we worked for that relationship, we worked for that job. Well, sometimes that's the problem. Stop working and allow yourself to receive. And I don't mean stop working, be lazy, do nothing. I mean, stop forcing things to happen in your life and get centered and aligned is more important than hard work. And hard work and work is important. I don't want to confuse people and say, well, sit back and do nothing. No. When you get in alignment, you will know what needs to be done. Alignment is not going to make you lazy. If it does, that's not alignment. Mm-hmm. Alignment is going to show you the path so that you don't have to be climbing an uphill battle when there's a flat path that you can walk. So this is not about sitting back and doing nothing. This is about allowing the universe or the algorithm. I love that analogy you made a few minutes ago about the algorithm. The universe has an algorithm too. So you have to wait for the algorithm to kick in. I know that more than anything, being in a path where I'm marketing this book and I'm trying to figure out the algorithm. And there are people on there going, girl, you working too hard. You have to figure out the algorithm. No, I have to post every day, 20 times a day, right? And other people are like, no, there's algorithm, girl. Right. And so life is like that too. It's not about not working. So you have some people who have 10,000 followers because they're using the algorithm that allows them to flow. Meanwhile, you have newbies who are going, no, I just have to post. So it's not about not working. It's about allowing the algorithm to work in your life.
Absolutely. A lot of times we are just so used to being those worker bees. And so you can't sit still. Sometimes you're moving because you really are trying to move in purpose and with drive. And other times you're moving because you're trying to distract yourself from reality. And so not chasing those distractions, like you said, allow yourself to sit in it, to feel it, and then move accordingly. Address it accordingly. Life is not all about task. A lot of times feel like all of our relationships, whether that be your friendship or your job, or even your walk with whatever higher being that you might believe in, everything boils down to my performance. And It's not about performance. You honed in and said being open to understanding that you should be receiving something. Allow yourself to receive. You don't have to just continuously work for it, because when you've done that and then you still don't see results, you feel more so defeated.
Absolutely. Receiving, not achieving.
In your book, you write about leaving behind what no longer suits you. What inspired that work, and how does it connect to this idea of letting go?
So, of course, like I mentioned in the beginning, I've been on my own healing journey for a long time. And what I notice in myself and with others is that similar to what you were saying about what the work looks like is not just time off. I notice people feeling better. Counseling is really good at helping people feel better, but not necessarily live better. And when I was on my own healing journey in the process, and I had gotten to the point where, I'm not living in shame anymore. I have developed the type of forgiveness that makes sense to me. I'm not living in silence and secrecy, but I knew that something was missing, and I saw this and observed this in other people as well. And what I realized is that people were still stuck in a story of this version of themselves that prevented them from living an empowered life, not just feeling better, but living better. I wanted to live better, not just feeling better. And I had to figure out what that meant for me, because I already had a good life. But if I'm healing or healed, what looks different in my life? Where is it showing up? And it wasn't showing up in a big enough ways that made me feel like the work was done, essentially. And so what does the next level of work look like for me? And that was about empowerment. And that's what I see with people who get stuck on this journey, is that they start to feel better, but not live better. They still have challenges and difficulty and feeling aligned with their internal core. Like, you still have people asking, I wonder what I would have been if that hadn't happened. Whatever it is you think it would have been, you still get to create. You get to create it. There is no what would have or should have or could have. You are in charge. Your life is not over. You have another 50 years to live, or 30 years to live, or 60 years to live. This life is yours to create. And so you have to come out of this story that you believe something interfered with who you are to become.
You have to leave it behind and begin to live your life full out. Because if you're still spending time dwelling on what was or what could have, then you're not living full out, and you're not going to be able to move forward at the rate that you should be able to. You are pretty much cheating yourself. And a lot of people don't understand that. I love the fact that you said they begin to feel better, but they're not necessarily living better. So what things do we put in place to be able to show progress in how we are now living? I like to say all the time, my life is for living, not just existing. So I can exist and feel better than I felt 2 years ago. But am I really living? Have I fulfilled the purpose that I want on this life? Have I moved into the journey that I want? And then, like you said, figuring out which way to go. Don't spend too much time on that hamster wheel, just running and running and running. And you're not getting anywhere. When you are aligned, there's a straight shot, and it's a quicker, easier path. And then that opens up the door to have more time and more flexibility to be able to create the true life that you want. So this has been so good. So good. But I know that there are still people out there that have these myths and these misconceptions about healing. What is it that you wish that more people understood?
That healing is a lifestyle, that it's not an event. And that's part of the challenge with how we come into the healing journey. Like, we usually go to counseling or do something because something hurts. right? And all we want is for the pain to stop. And so we treat our minds in a similar way than what most people treat their bodies, right? They go to the doctor when something hurts. They want that thing to stop hurting, but they're not trying to live the healthiest life that they want. So that's how they're treated. And that's how the doctors treat them. And that's how therapists treat you. They want to know that you're not going to hurt yourself. You're not going to hurt anyone else. And you're not living with any severe discomfort. That's survival. That's not living. That's survival. Then there are those of us who want to, as you say, live in the fullness of who we are. I don't simply want to be able to walk. I want to be able to run. I want to run marathons, right? So when I go to the doctor is not going to evaluate me for running a marathon, right? Especially not at my age. They're not evaluating me for that. They're not trying to get me there. In a similar way, counselors are not trying to support you to be at your maximum emotional growth either. They want to know that you can get through life without harming yourself or others and avoiding a certain level of discomfort in your life. So it is up to you to practice healing as a lifestyle. It's a different type of living when you now become conscious of what you put into your body, right? Oh no, I don't want to eat that. Oh no, I don't want to sleep X number of hours. I need to sleep this number of hours. Oh, I want to work this. It's a different when you start defining for yourself what healing looks like, in that you now make it a lifestyle. You say, these are the 10 things that I do for my healing to be emotionally well. For example, I don't watch the news. I don't watch it. It has nothing to offer me. That's part of my healing lifestyle. There are certain places I don't go because it's part of my healing lifestyle. I have an emotional nutrition plan in the same way that I have a physical nutrition plan. It is a lifestyle. Everything I do is practice, not a performance. That means I don't get it perfect. I don't get it perfect. It's all practice. It's all just practice. Some days I have really great practice. Some days, not so much. It's all just practice because healing is my lifestyle. And that's what I think is the myth, that people think that healing is a destination.
Definitely, ladies, especially the ladies. The trend is we go to the gym, we're doing all of these things because we're trying to see the gains. Well, where are the emotional gains? I love that you said, I have an emotional plan. Just like I have a plan for my physical health, there's a plan for my emotions. And being able to understand what that is and not depending on, I want to go back to this because I had a conversation with someone the other day. And we're in this era now where perhaps when we grew up, people didn't talk a lot about therapy and counseling. It's like life happens. You deal with it and you move on. Well, now people are embracing mental health and they have these benefits that they're putting to use. I'm going to talk to my therapist. I have this session and this session and this session. But when it's all said and done, you're not doing anything about it. It's like turning off a light switch. So when that session ended, that was the end of that. And you're waiting until the next one to ask this person how to fix your life when they don't have all of the answers. It has to come from you. You pointed out making sure there are actionable steps and staying true to them. And no, we're not going to get it right every single day. We're human. We get tired. We have those moments where we just don't want to, and that's fine. But the more you put it into practice, the more it just becomes innate. It's every day. It's automatic. I don't have to think about it. There is automaticity there with it. I know that on the healing journey, we have to make sure that we're looking at, self-reflection and openness, but it's sort of like you've got to find the right recipe. I can't go and create my favorite meal with just one or two ingredients or what I think is there when I taste it, when I don't really know what all is there. So for someone that is wanting to let go, but they don't know where to begin, what's the first small step that they could take?
Well, the smallest step they can take, I would suggest, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, read the book. The 7 Exits, Leave Behind What No Longer Serves You is my latest book, and it's intended for the beginner, the person who does not know where to start. The book looks at these 7 realms that help define what growing into high quality mental health looks like. It's intended to be bibliotherapy. Oftentimes people don't know where to start. And in a real way, not just in a salesy do this, but that's what this book is designed for, because so many of us never get to the therapist. So many of us haven't learned to speak about mental wellness and how we're showing up. And so the book in the 7 realms, it looks at these 7 areas. Where do I begin? Well, realm number 1 is hyperego. Understanding how your mind plays a role in keeping you stuck. Even though your mind thinks it's helping you, it's not. Really understanding what to look at. Looking at the silence and secrecy that you carry and how that keeps you stuck. So it's all these realms that we dabble in that we think are helping us live safe, but they're not. These realms are keeping us stuck and missing opportunities. So I would say a book, read this book, and then hopefully read other books. Read this book again. Don't just read it as a task, but trying to align with what it is teaching you. So that's really important. Read, invest in yourself. If you're trying to just do it willy-nilly, you're going to miss the mark more than you have to. So if you're really concerned about what growth looks like for you, if you're really trying to get yourself unstuck, honestly, it's the lowest investment you can make. Read the book, 7 X's, Leave Behind What No Longer Serves You.
We do have to continuously invest in ourselves. We can't leave it up to someone else. If you could give someone in the middle of a painful departure a message, what would the message be?
Trust a part of you that longs for more. Trust that part of you. Your brain is going to want to go to the familiar, but the part of you that longs for more, that part is ancient and wise and free. This isn't the end. It's calling for a clearing. Trust that part of you.
I mean, we trust other people, so you may as well trust yourself. You put your trust and your faith and all of your eggs into one basket, as people like to say sometimes. So why not do that with yourself? It does sound like common sense, right? Like we should be able to do that. I am me. I've known me all my life, but sometimes you have to dig a little deeper to get to know yourself and the things that you want to go after. How do I go after those things in a mentally well way? I love that you said mental wellness, because a lot of times we just focus on mental health and you just hear the word health, health, health.
Mm-hmm.
Are you well?
Yep, exactly.
You are, because you're breathing and you're walking and you can get around and you can do the day-to-day things, but are you suffering at the same time that you're doing that?
Exactly.
Are you still hurting? You have to find a way to be well.
Yes, absolutely. And don't settle for, I don't know how. I don't know how is a familiar response that your brain will give you to keep you stuck. I don't know how is simply resistant. When that part of you that longs for more calls for you to depart, then your response must be, I will figure out how. Not, I don't know how.
And I know a lot of us probably grew up with a family member that would not allow you to use the word can't. I can't and I don't know were unacceptable in
Absolutely.
some households. And so some things you do still need to carry forward with you. And that's that is probably one of those things. When we talk about where you are in your journey today and how you have moved through what you've moved through, and you are probably totally living your best life, still trying to move forward and work on some other things, but feeling really great about where you are today. What does living full out mean to you in the context of healing and letting go?
Oh, I think it's all about being all in for yourself, your truth, for what's waiting for you in your life, this life and beyond. What have you outgrown? Like, you got to be all in. Be excited when you wake up. If you're not excited when you wake up for what's ahead of you in your day, then you're stuck in a pattern that's not serving you. Like, figure out how to be excited with each step. Even when you're tired, there's a difference in being tired and being numb. You may not be full energetic today because it's all just practice. Not every day is going to be, yeah. But generally, when you wake up, are you happy when you open your eyes about what you are going to face today? If you are not, you're stuck in a pattern that does not serve you.
So let's get unstuck, everybody. Get started. Actually do the work. Don't just spend the time, but do the work and put it into practice. So, Dr. Bakari, you have given us some amazing gems to work with on our journeys to becoming the best versions of ourselves and living full out, leaving behind what once was and embracing what's coming, knowing that we are worthy, knowing what we deserve, and being open to receive. And your light is just beaming. You are shining. I am wanting all of our audience members to be able to know how they can connect with you. Of course, go and find the book. I will make sure that the title is scrolling so you guys go look it up and see where you can purchase it. But how else can they connect with you?
My website is rosennabakari.com. So if you make sure my name is spelled correctly, Rosenna Bakari, rosennabakari.com. That's the easiest way. You can look there and you can reach me by email. That email will come directly to me if you want to email me. So that's the simplest way. But also the other website is 7exits.com. Word spelled out, 7x's.com. That email, if you leave anything there, will also come to me. Of course, I would love if people would find me and follow me on all the social media because I haven't figured out that 10,000 follower thing yet. So
absolutely, we've got to drive it up. Let's run it up, everybody. So make sure that you can connect with her. Now it's time for one of my favorite segments of the show, and that is In a Heartbeat. Today, we've been talking about all these wonderful things, and I've titled this edition, Let It Go and Live Full Out. What is one habit that keeps you grounded? I want the first answer without a whole bunch of thought behind it, just whatever pops to your mind instantly.
Working out, hands down, working out is essential. It's my lifeline.
Okay, the best advice that you've ever received in 5 words or less.
Go for the win-win, not the win-lose.
Awesome. One thing that you've let go of this year.
Perfection. Absolutely. Letting go of perfection.
One thing that people should do more of.
Exercise.
Okay. Something you used to fear, but you now embrace.
The dark. I used to be afraid of the dark, literally up until probably 3 years ago.
Wow. Okay. You had a nightlight all those years?
Some kind of light, but I'm not asleep. Like, people turn off the light to go to bed. My trauma did not allow me to feel comfortable in the dark. So, yeah, that's my confession.
If you could have coffee with your future self, what would you ask?
What does my body need? I would want to know what my body needs.
One thing that always makes you feel the most like yourself.
Anything where I physically get to move in a rhythmic way. So martial arts, dancing, physical things make me feel most like myself.
Can you finish this statement for me? It's going to be 2 fill in the blanks. So healing is never blank, but it's always blank.
Healing is never over, but it's always available.
Oh, thank you so much. Those answers were so powerful and so real. I love that you played In a Heartbeat with us. And that last one really hits home. Healing is never over. It just goes back to what you said. People think that healing is a destination. You get there and you stop. You don't. It's a continuous journey. Oh my goodness. This has been such a pleasure having you here today. I am going to let you do us the honor of closing out the show. Um, I'm blessed, to have had this opportunity to collaborate. And I want you to just take us home.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I will tell you, I'm not sure when this will air, but I'm actually going to be in the Fort Worth area. You're in Dallas, right? You're in Texas. October, I think is October 11th. I'll give you the information so you can post it at the Doc Bookstore in Fort Worth. So I was hoping that these times would coordinate overlap, but they didn't. But I am going to be in the area. But I'm just really excited for the work that you're doing and for serving your audience so well and making sure that people have healing resources and tools, because this is one of them. Staying connected to healing communities, staying connected to these positive spaces where people are trying to feed you yummy stuff for your mind. So with that, I would just say thanks again for inviting me. I appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, October, I'm going to make sure that this airs in time for the ladies and gentlemen that are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to head on over to Fort Worth and meet Dr. Bakari in person. Pick up a copy of that book if you don't already have it. If you're going to have it in your hands, that will be great. Maybe we'll get, an autograph.
Absolutely.
Yes, and they say everything is bigger in Texas. So let's prove that, guys. Let's show up and pack that bookstore and give her such a warm, warm welcome, because she has been so good to us today. And not only today, we can really see that this is your lifestyle. This is what you do. Not only are you working in your own journey, but you're committed to making sure that other people have the tools and the resources that they need to move forward. Here at Heart of Her, we're all about leading with our heart first, and your heart is definitely showing up and showing out. It is showing out. And we love that for you, for us, for everyone else that is watching. So yes, this has been awesome. I look forward to seeing you in October. I'm going to put that on my calendar.
Yes, please.
But again, thank you so much for being here. Everyone that has tuned in today, make sure you like and share. Send this particular episode to a friend, even if it's not someone that you are very, very close to, but you probably picked up on some things. It can be a colleague, an associate, or whatever. You never know how you are going to help impact someone's journey. So be a friend and keep in mind that everybody is loved, everybody is worthy, and we appreciate you guys for tuning in.
Yes.
Check us out next time.
Friends don't let friends miss good information.
All right. They don't. They do not. Do not gatekeep. Share all the goods. And like she said, feeding yummy things for your mind. Don't keep doom scrolling. Look for the good stuff and being able to recognize when there's good stuff so you can help someone else along the way. All right, everybody. Thank y'all.
Appreciate you.